Hello, everybody. We're going to start the show. Hello, everybody. It's the old bear with the old bear's den of Bigfoot. And I'm glad to see everybody here tonight. And I'm a little tired, so please forgive me. I'm not all 100%. I had to work, and sleeping with two cracked ribs kind of hurts. Anyway, I apologize ahead of time if I'm not 100% on my game. Tonight we have Brian Barber back. I'm glad to have a very good friend of mine back on. He is a wonderful guest. He's very knowledgeable about Bigfoot, and we're trying to. We may have another guest for you tonight, and if Henry's out there in the chat, click on the link, stay backstage, and we'll bring you on. You don't have to show your face. You can turn your camera off, just leave your mic on, and we'll talk about the problem that you're having. See if we can't help you while we're here. Anyway, let's get the show started. Everybody, welcome Brian Barber back, and I'll bring him right now. Well, let's say, Brian.
How we doing?
Doing pretty good.
With two cracked ribs.
So what's new in your part of the woods?
New, I haven't been able to get out in the woods. I had a real bad case of diverticulitis and then gallbladder surgery on top of it. So it's kept me laid up for the last 6 weeks.
Well, did they take your appendix out with the gallbladder, or did they leave the gallbladder in, or what happened?
Appendix I was taking out way back, but they took the gallbladder out. The gallbladder was literally it was so bad that it got inflamed, infected, and actually attached itself to the liver. Ooh. So my liver enzymes were really sky high, and they couldn't figure out why. So they actually had to go in there kind of like a salmon and fillet it out. So a 45-minute surgery took 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I know how the gallbladder works. Back when I was 15, I had mine completely removed because I had 27 gallstones in it at 15.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
What they excuse me? What they attribute that to? Luck of the draw.
I had one of them old doctors that felt that if they told you anything, you wouldn't understand it, and they weren't going to tell you. So
it was above our knowledge base. So
yeah, that's the way they thought back then when I was a kid. Of course, you know that. Like I was telling everybody, I'm glad to have you back tonight. It's fun to have a very good friend on here with me.
My absolute pleasure. I mean, and to be able to be called friends, an honor for me with the service you've done and the things you continue to do. And I mean,
Hey,
talk
look,
about a stand-up guy. You don't pull any punches. You don't be politically correct. You just throw it out there. Honest
well,
thing.
I appreciate the accolades, but it was my honor to do what I did, and it's been a it's been fun for me to do the Bigfooting thing ever since I was a young kid. Um, just in the last 4 or 5 years, it's gotten a little rough,
Yeah.
as you know. We've talked about it a few times, and like I said, I'm just leaving YouTube. I'm not stopping the Bigfoot. So I mean, anytime you get questions, you know, if you think I can give you an answer or help you out with something, all you gotta do, man, is just call. Just call me.
I want to pick your brain because, I want to learn. The more time I have off, and there have been a lot of people telling me they see me trying to transition to something different other than, I've been in the gym since 1986, working in a gym. And I love it and I always have passion for it, but now I'm wanting to do other things. Not that I'll make any money at it, but I want to help people, but in a different way. And,
All right.
maybe this might be something.
You never know.
So,
Oh, one thing before I forget, uh, just so everybody knows, I'm wearing Nance's shirt tonight from Buckeye Bigfoot. I'm doing that because she's a wonderful friend of mine. I love that lady. Would do anything for her. She's a very good friend, and she came last month when we was up in Salt Fork, and we had a ball with her being there. I mean, she's just the kind of person. She's very knowledgeable. She can talk to you about anything when it comes to Bigfoot, um, and she's good at what she does. She's a great storyteller, and I just wanted to let everybody know that she's one of the few people that I do back on YouTube, and I just figured I'd let everybody know. So, Brian, at the beginning of the show, before we started the show, we were talking, and there's a gentleman that's having trouble.
yeah, his name.
And if you want to tell about it, or do you want to let him tell about it?
I sent him a message.
He's backstage.
Is he? I'll let
Yeah.
him tell them because he can give you more
Okay.
details, but problems not necessarily for him, but his parents. So that was why I'm like,
Okay.
okay, this is out of my league. He needs to talk to. So I was hoping maybe you could give him suggestions.
Okay. Well, let's you if you don't mind, we can bring him on right now, and then
Absolutely.
we'll continue with just me and you later. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, because it's my
Okay.
chance to listen and learn. So
Hey, we all got to learn something.
Hello.
Hello, Henry. We hear that you're having trouble. Can you tell us some about what's going on? Don't give specifics.
No, I
A
hear you.
specific place.
About 2 years ago, year and a half ago, my mother started talking about something roaring at the back of the house, very close. They could feel it right in their chest. Her and Dad. So I listened to that. I didn't say nothing. I just listened. Then she spoke about it one more time. Something different about it, but same idea. And I started asking questions. And
Mhm.
and when I realized it was legitimate, they were scared. I started going on Bigfoot channels, trying to absorb as much as I could on it. I found about 4 or 5 really good channels that had information. It may not work for me, but it's there. Uh, and of course, behind the house, they own property back there, big old like 50 acres field, old farm thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they manicure that place. It's manicured. There's no slash around the edges of the fields. You can see way back into it. Everything. It looks nice. Lots of trees. a bit of a swamp back there that goes down to the river, the huge river on the side of the state. And as we're going, I walked back there, probably a good 80% of the property. I couldn't find any blinds. I couldn't find any dens, no tracks, no breaks, no crosses, no bows. But the next year, that winter, when they told me about the roaring, Dad shot a buck with a crossbow, and he left it overnight. They went back in the next day, my brother and him, followed the bloodline, found a deer, and all of a sudden they got 3 knocks within 50 to 70 yards away from them. My brother was, a little bit away from my dad, making his loop, and he heard the knocks too. Well, they got the deer out of there, and nothing happened. Of course, on the other side of the farm is where they deposit the gut pile and all that. They didn't have any problems over on that end of the farm either. If it would have followed them or whatever, but that's where they leave that stuff. So after that, nothing showed up. Nothing stepped out in the field. Nothing. This year, this last hunting season, my brother had knocked down a buck. It's pretty regular. We kill a lot of bucks off the property.
Mm-hmm.
Brothers down there where they leave all the, the inside stuff. And something's down there giving them humps noises. HUMPH, humps noises. 7 of them exactly. Bear don't do that. So he left his stuff there. It didn't get too, in the open with him, but it was very close, probably 30 yards. So he left his stuff there where he always puts it. And then he went up to the barn and did his thing with the deer, quartered it up, whatever. Now this spring, I just found out, nobody's given me the whole story, just bits of it. I just found out that Mom's a little incontinent, so when she's mowing, she'll pee everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking, putting all this stuff in my head, and it's like, maybe that Bigfoot's roaring because he picked up on the pee smell all over the barn, all over where she mows. I don't know. I just hate to see them, as much as they're over there doing their manicuring and all that puttering. I just hate to see them get hurt. And of course, I asked to put a recorder out. No, they shot that down. I asked to put 2 cameras out in the woods. They shot that down. They don't want me bringing nobody over there on the property to, investigate. So all I can do is listen and learn and pick up as much from you guys as I can. So it's a little, I can't I can't push it any further than I have, but when they do call, at least I'll have the knowledge enough to, okay, this is what we got to do.
Okay. Funny thing is, I was talking to Dirt Road Bigfoot today about investigations I've done, people I've helped today, to date. And we were discussing the thing of what you just said, about your mom having to go to the bathroom. And when she does, is she going in the wood line, or is she going behind a barn, or do you know?
Wherever she has to get off the mower, it's where she's doing it. So I'm taking it around the field.
Okay.
She's not
All right.
one spot or in the bucket. She's just dropping it and go.
Right. I understand that. Well, here's the thing. There's something that a lot of people don't understand about Bigfoot. If they're, and it sounds to me like they're not living on your family's property. sounds to me like they're using it for a travel corridor and a hunting area
Yes.
because of the deer that are there. The other thing, what a lot of people don't understand is if now we're all three men. When we go and we go out in the woods, you be deer hunting, turkey hunting, any kind of hunting, or you're just out walking through the woods. Men typically will just walk up to a tree and have their back to everybody else if there's anyone there or anyone might come along and go. Problem is, sometimes Bigfoot does the same thing, but he doesn't do it just because he has to go. He does it as a marker
Yes. Marking.
to warn other Bigfoot and to let all the other animals know that it's his territory. With your mom doing that, now I know your mom, she's probably 60, maybe, if
About
that.
about 78.
Oh, well, I was trying to say you were young. I hope you took that right.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, what I'm trying to say is, with her going and cutting that field and marking it in many different spots, they may construe that as a sign of, and it really don't make any difference how old you are, if it's a male or a female.
Right.
If you do that a lot, and she has to go 2 or 3 times or whatever while she's mowing, they can construe that as she's marking their territory.
Right.
And when that happens, there's certain things that you will have to do. There's a way to do it. You can put an electric fence up, put a double strand, put one strand at like 2 foot off the ground, and then put another strand at like 5 foot off the ground. That can be very expensive. You know
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
Or you can find some way for your mom to not have to go out in the field. That might mean a 5-gallon bucket. You take and
Yeah.
pour it down the end of the driveway.
Part of her, activity. Just
Right.
with
I understand.
So yeah, just and the other thing I forgot to mention. Sorry about that. The deer, the does and the little ones, they're up by the barn, laying down underneath some trees up there, little apple trees.
Mm-hmm.
We can walk within 6 feet of them, and they're not taking off. That's kind of giving me an idea that something's worse in the woods. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I had in my head. Just
Well,
why out by the barn.
you're thinking right. Those does with those little ones, they're staying close to human dwellings.
Yep.
And they, for a reason. Those Bigfoot are probably sitting back on the hill somewhere, where there might be a small brush pile or something they can sit behind, because they don't always make hides.
Yeah, right.
Populated in an area where you guys hunt, and they expect human intrusion, so they're not going to make their own hunting blinds. They're not going to do tree twists. They're not going to do tree bows. They're not going to do any of that, because then it lets us humans know that the Bigfoot are there.
Right.
And so you not finding anything is a definite sign that they know that y'all are in the woods all the time, or you're out, your mom and dad's out. There's other things that you can do. They've not been smacking the house or throwing anything on the roof or anything like that, have they?
She and Dad said that. Well, she said it. Dad's been trying to stay quiet about it, not telling anybody else, because evidently he's gotten laughed at or whatever. Because he was telling everybody that would listen. But somebody or something had hit the they got a big old ladder out behind their house hanging on the side of the house on below the bedroom window area, and Mom heard that get banged around. It's a big old orange fiberglass thing. I mean, it's huge. And it got banged around. It didn't get picked up off of the hook, but it got banged around.
Yeah, it's kind of typical. They'll bang stuff on the side of the house or whatever. They don't have to hit the house as long as they make noise and disturb you.
Yeah.
That's what they do it for. There's two things that these Bigfoot are doing. It seems like they have an offense because of what your mom's incontinence, and they are doing it. They're doing things, and you said your brother was kind of,
yeah, he got the humps like 30 feet away, 30 yards away.
okay. So
happen or anything like that. They just did the hump noise loud enough to where he could hear it.
So that was to try to get him to walk away from the deer completely. They wanted the whole deer. They didn't just want the heart and the liver and whatever else they can use out of it. They wanted the whole deer.
Yeah.
So there's things you're going to have to do. First off, I would pick a different place to gut deer. Deprive them of the entrails because that one place they're associating with the humans too much.
Yeah.
So you may want to start field dressing the deer wherever it drops. That makes them go away from the house. Now they can't just go to one central area and get all the heart and livers and everything else that they want out of that gut pile.
Right.
So maybe take it to the edge of the property and do it that way. That way it'll keep them from being down around the house and near the home.
Where this spot is, it's near the river side of the property.
Mm-hmm.
The barn from where the barn sits, or the old garage, whatever you want to call it, there ain't no animals in it. But from that point to where the dump site is, it's about 100 yards.
That's too close.
Yeah. Yeah.
500 yards, you'd be good.
Yeah.
100 yards, they can smell your mom and dad all the time. At 100 yards, easy.
From the barn to the end of the field, at the end of the field, my folks can see it through their kitchen window. They can see the field. So that's
too close to the house.
So
that's too close to the house, bud.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, and that's kind of why I walked it, especially around the swamp, because I figured I'd see something around there, maybe some sign of them thrashing around. If they're going to be roaring from that area, I figured maybe they're thrashing around in there a little bit, but I couldn't see anything. Nothing stood out. So I talked to different folks that have supposedly had, things going on and what they've done, when you think of this going on. And I try to let the folks know about as much as I can. Is just they're, I think they're just kind of ignoring it right at the moment, which is foolish. But that's they just don't want any help with it right at the moment.
Well, I understand that, but here I'm going to give you a little bit of an idea to what you need to do. Go to Harbor Freight, get the solar-powered motion sensor lights.
Yes.
They're not real expensive. Put 4 of them up on the top edge of the house and do it to where they kind of interlock beams on the front and the back, or the sides
Yep.
and the back. You don't want them on the front because you got lights out front of the house, probably.
Right. Yeah, we got one
So,
motion.
right. So you don't need them. You don't need them on the front, the sides, and the rear is where you want to put them. You want to put the 2 on the back to where they point at each other, but yet they pick up motion across the back.
And
If
the
one of
back,
them comes on and then the other one comes on, you know something's walking through.
the bottom of that roof out back is pretty far up off the ground. You know, kind of it drops down at the back of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So a way of them banging on the light because it's too high. I
Right.
mean, even for a 10 or 12 foot one, I don't think they'll be able to reach it. It's just too high of a spot.
Well, I think it. I don't think it's the big alpha that's doing all this. I think it's the beta males or the juveniles.
Yep.
The juveniles cause a lot of trouble, and sooner than later, the alpha will get into it, and he will either A, make the juveniles quit and leave them alone, or B, he will take it as an affront, and then he'll be down there at the house,
Yeah.
smacking the house, and you don't want that. So the next time you go up there, hopefully you can go this weekend or sometime next week. Walk around the outside of the field, around the house, near the wood line, and while you're walking around, just tell your parents what you're going to do so they won't be calling the paddy wagon.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. But tell whatever's in the woods in a loud voice, look, this is my family's property. They don't want you near the house, don't want you near the barn. Anything that is open, you leave alone. Do not come out into the field. Do not come out into the yard. Don't come out around the barn. We will leave the deer entrails in the wood lines for you. You can have whatever you want out of it.
Yeah.
And keep that part of the bargain. If you don't, they'll take it as you were just all talk and no show, and you know what happens then. Somebody gets upset.
Sure.
But if you're up there some evening and you hear a howl, scream back at it. Show it that you're an alpha. If it's bothering your parents, you're going to have to be the one to deal with this.
Yeah.
Because your parents are older. They don't have the agility or strength to deal with it. You do. And the only thing that you need to do is put some lights up around the house. If you want to add lights on the barn, use the solar powered. They work great.
Yes.
I've used them many times and they work just fine. And here's another thing. Go somewhere where you can there's a thing called the screaming Mimi. It's a little box and it puts out a high pitched sound that hurts even our ears. And all you have to do is push the button and it goes off. It's battery operated. Buy one for your mom and one for your dad. And explain to them that if there's anything that's bothering you or is following you around, you need to set this off. It'll operate just fine once or twice on a battery charge, then replace the batteries.
Yeah.
That loud noise will cause them to walk away and leave. Well, they won't walk; they'll run because it does hurt their hearing a lot more than it does ours because of the high pitch. So those 2 things I would suggest you do. And the third thing that I told you, to walk around the property and around the yard and around the field, I would definitely do within the next week.
Yeah.
And if anything else goes on, if it gets worse, you got Brian's number, and Brian can get a hold of me. I don't know what state you're in, and
Here in New Hampshire.
huh?
I'm sorry, up here in New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Okay. That's a far drive from me, but I know a few people up there that can handle the situation if it gets worse. And if it gets worse, all you have to do is go and tell your parents that
Yep.
some people are coming up to deal with that situation.
Yep. I appreciate all the help and listening, because I've been racking my mind trying to say, okay, is this bit of information that I'm hearing okay? You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of just people just exaggerating, making stuff up. Oh, that's going to hurt me if I listen to all that,
Well, that's the reason I started my channel, is because after 35 years, I've helped 20 some different families with Bigfoot. And these little simple things tends to work a lot better than what all this extravagant stuff people out here in the Bigfoot community tell you. They'll get you to buy something that they're trying to sell and make a profit off from somebody else. Somebody pays them a little bit of money per item that they get sold. So I don't have any of that. I do this because I'm tired of seeing the lies going out. I'm tired of seeing people being, trying stuff that other people have told them and it's never worked. So I'm here to make sure that you guys know, everybody knows the truth about these creatures. They can get mean, and if you're not doing anything to them, they typically will leave you alone. They might scream and holler, and you'll hear all their vocalizations.
Yeah.
But what you got to worry about is when they start doing that sound when you're down there gutting a deer out. That's not a good sound to be hearing.
Oh no.
So
Break my brother out pretty well.
yeah. So instead of localizing next to the river, go further away from the house from now on, please.
Yep. Definitely. Well, thank you very
Brian,
much. I greatly appreciate it.
Anytime, Henry. You can actually get a hold of me or Brian, and we'll help you out as much as we can. And if Brian don't have an answer, he can call me. And if I don't have one, I'll definitely call a very good old friend of mine, and he'll have the answer for you.
I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Thank you.
We'll see you, buddy. All right, Brian.
Awesome.
I hope that helps him.
Yeah, me too. That's kind of a 80-year-old parents. That's a scary thing.
Yeah. Yeah. If it was, if I still had my parents, they'd be in their 80s. Mom would be 90 something, and dad would be close to 90. And if it was them, I wouldn't hesitate. I would be at the door going, y'all stay in here. I'll take care of the issue. And I would find them.
Absolutely.
So, what Bigfoot stuff you want to talk about?
Oh man, that's a checklist. Man. As far as looking for them, I mean, what are things? Because I suck at tracking, so I guess I need to learn how to do that.
I never tracked them.
I just went as far as evidence. I don't want to track them. I don't want to follow them because.
Yeah, there's too easy way to they set a trap for you if you track them.
Yeah, that was Siege of Hanoba. Have you heard about that?
What was it again?
The siege of Hanoba.
Oh, Hanobia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's your opinion on that? Real or?
the siege of Hanobia. That's the one where the Indian scouts went in and pretty much went to war with them. Is that the one you're talking about, or is there a different one that they've been putting out?
Different one they've been putting out. A guy that moved onto some property and
Uh-huh.
started having activity, so he shot one, and then the activity really picked up, and they had the BFO out there, and
Oh, well, right there tells you a lot. And no offense to most of the investigators with BFRO, they try their best to do what's right. But the powers that be in that organization, I don't have much stock in them. The Siege of Hanobia um, is an old Indian. It's Native American, and it started out that way. These Bigfoot were coming in and grabbing people out of their tents, men, women, children, didn't make any difference. They were taking them off to an area, and those Bigfoot were eating them. That's the actual siege of Hanobia.
Oh, you think that was what a Gugway? Or just
No, that was Janoskwa.
oh,
There was a clan and the Indian Scouts for the U.S. For the state at that time, before it was a state. They tracked them down and went in, and their leader was killed because he charged them and was shooting these creatures, killing them with the old buffalo rifles, with the lever action buffalo rifles. And he ended up dying, and the rest of them charged in, and they ended up killing a bunch of them, and the rest of them ran off. The females and a few of the young males ran off. That was the siege of Hanobia. The thing they got now, I have no idea where they got that from. I've heard it, and the moment they mentioned BFRO coming in, I kind of shut off from it. I don't trust anything that all of a sudden there's something that they're calling using a term, the siege of Hanobia, for something completely different. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody did shoot a Bigfoot and then all hell breaks loose, and that's just basically what you're going through if a clan of Bigfoot come after you because you shot one of their own. It's hell. But
yeah, that was.
I'm a little bit hesitant to authenticate something that I don't see a lot of truth in.
Yeah, no, it's funny you said that because they started doing something you were talking about. I'm on another show where the next night after he shot one appeared like at the edge, just the edge of his sight. So he went and got his gun to scare it off. And as he drew the gun, it moved a little farther away. So he walked a little closer to get a better shot. And then as he got closer, it looked a little bit farther away. Then he realized that he was
They're
being
drawing him in.
Yeah. So
that's not good. Yeah, that's typical behavior of a clan that when they set their sights on you, they're like a pit bull. When they grab a hold of something, they don't let go. When that happens, usually the whole clan is going to have to be, you're going to have to do something to the alpha. And in order to get to the alpha, you got all them betas to get through. Because he'll send them and he'll come himself. He'll deal with you himself. It's just all the betas are allied to him and they're beholding to him, and they'll give their life to protect him. It's a double-edged sword.
So does the alpha act kind of like the male lion, where maybe he hangs back and then the rest of them kind of patrol?
Yep.
I do notice when I'm out that I'll find the 17-inch tracks quite a bit, but maybe it's only once every month, 6 weeks, where I find the 23-inch.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if he's just hanging out somewhere else, and then these guys are the
Well,
ones.
yeah, you're right. He does hang back. He hangs around the alpha female because the alpha female hangs around the young. He knows and understands that his legacy is in those young. So he takes that as a special thing. He protects the alpha female, and the other females, when they're in a cave or whatever they're in, he protects those females and the young. The beta males are his lieutenants, colonels, majors, whatever you want, and sergeants and privates.
Okay.
And it's the same as dealing with a military unit. The guy that's giving all the orders is the one that's kind of hang back, and he don't have bars on his shoulders or none of that stuff.
Got ya. So when I'm out wandering around, what would be, I know there's no safe way to do this. It's kind of like following a bear or something, but what are the signs things are okay, and what are the signs that things are going to go south and you should leave?
Well, there's signs for when things are going good. You'll hear tree breaks and stuff like that, but they're always at a distance.
Mhm.
Those are things that they do, and there's sounds that they make. Males and females will whoop, or what everybody calls a whoop, but that's actually not what they're saying. They're not saying whoop. They're saying something else. They use that call when they're in close proximity to each other. And hearing that, you not really got a lot to worry about. You just don't want to push too hard. If you push too hard before they get used to you, you will start hearing growls. You'll start hearing teeth popping. You will start hearing wood knocks, which it's not actually wood they're smacking against a tree. It's usually their hand. And you'll start hearing those types of sounds, and you'll hear limbs being broken to show power. They'll start that. When you start hearing that, it's best to back out, because now you're dealing with not only the biggest of the betas, but you're also dealing with the alpha coming. When he shows up, he's not going to be in a good mood. He's going to be upset. He will knock a tree over. He will break limbs off and throw them at you. He will escort you out of the woods quickly. So a lot of investigators, when they go in the woods, they push too hard, too fast, and they get pushed out. You don't want to rush into a clan of Bigfoot. You want to slowly ease into them, take your time, and stop often. That way you can hear what sounds they're making. If you start hearing alarms, like barks from the females, you might as well just head to the truck. They've gotten scared. You got too close to them, or you got too close to the young. If you start hearing barks, and it's not a dog bark, it's and it's that sound, you want to back off and then get back to your vehicle, because now the beta males are going to be coming, and the alpha will follow, because now you're messing with the females. So
Yeah.
it's no fun. But
Yeah, and that fell right in line with what happened to me last time when we went out. And I think I said on the shows before, I don't like to do howls because you don't know what you're saying. Well, I don't. You do, but
I do them.
he he starts right off with that Ohio howl, which the last time I called blasted that, I got a log thrown at my truck from
Yeah,
3
that's everybody doesn't understand the Ohio how. If you listen to what Moneymaker actually got, it's growly.
Oh,
Anytime you do a howl that's got a lot of growl in it, you're threatening the males. You're threatening that alpha. It's usually not a good thing. I do it because, well, I do it because I guess because I'm half crazy. Anyway, I don't do it very often. I've done it at Salt Fork a few years ago, and we dealt with one of the males. I'm not sure that it was the alpha, but it was definitely a good sized male stomping its feet, growling, and coming within probably 40 or 50 yards of us. So when that happens, there's very few things you can do. And the worst thing that everybody can do is jump up and head to one side away from him because then it emboldens them and they will push. So yeah, everybody thinks Ohio Hal's it's a great call. It's a great capture. I give Moneymaker all the props on that. He caught something that made his name, and he got he's got what he's got, and I give him props for that. But he has no comprehension what the Ohio How means.
yeah,
And it's not just only in Ohio that you'll hear that. Anywhere there's a Bigfoot, a big male can make that howl. No problem.
yeah. I've heard it up here, and that was why it was only when you YouTube, Bigfoot calls, that's the first thing that pops up. So
Right.
blew that across the Bluetooth, and I refused to do it anymore. But my friend Lance did it as soon as we got there, and immediate responses with a couple tree knocks and I don't want to say almost a whoop back. And that was when we went into the woods. And now that talking to you, we were pushing too hard because we didn't
Hmm.
stop at an X and then just keep going. And he was, banging on the trees as we went. And then we
He
got
was
to a
trying
point
to
where,
warn you.
yeah. And looking back, that, like I said, that whole thing makes total sense now. Should have stopped taking a few because
Yeah.
things got really crazy after that, where we had 3 of them visible, show up. I mean, God, the one, he had to be 800 pounds if he was an ounce, just over 8 foot. And then there was a skinnier, lighter 8 footer, but he wasn't as massive.
Hmm.
And then we saw a brown one. We couldn't get a good, clear picture of that, but they all 3 showed up when the baby started panicking. So
Yep.
that was not a comfortable feeling because they closed the gap. When we first saw them, they were about 100 yards. And then we couldn't have taken more than 10 steps, turned around, just to maybe get a picture. And we got our pictures, but they were within 40 yards. And you didn't
Yeah,
even
they were escorting you out.
yeah.
They said it's time to go.
Yep. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm going to walk. I'm going to walk. And then when they started getting a little more uh, noisy about it, with the brakes,
Hmm.
I'm like, I'm going to be a statistic in Val's book right here. But
No, you're not going to be a statistic. There's a reason.
we
You
made it out.
carry. I'll give you. I want to tell you this. The way you carry yourself means a lot. You don't carry all slump shoulders and kind of stuck into yourself. You don't walk that way. And because of that, they perceive you to be an alpha male. They give you a lot more leeway than they would say your buddy that was doing howls and all that stuff. probably because he doesn't carry himself kind of squared up like you do.
Right.
And it has a lot to do with the way they perceive you. That's the reason I get by with a lot of stuff, is because when I'm in the woods, I'm full shouldered, my back is straight, I'm standing up as tall as I can, and I don't back away. If they come at you and you step back, they've got you. They can push you around. If they come at you and you don't step away and you start to growl at them, they perceive you as an alpha, because that's something that alpha would do. And they respect that. And it has to do with the way you carry yourself and the way you act in the woods. When you're out there and they're close and they can see you, if they can see you and you stand still and you're like, whatever, they perceive it as an alpha and they will respect you. Now, when the alpha male gets there, you do it in a way that you don't threaten him. And when you threaten him, he doesn't care what you are. He will do what he needs to do to get you out of that area.
Man, so many other.
Go right ahead.
It's like trying to pick something out of thin air. You know, different sounds, what they mean. I know we've talked about the types before.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to remember where the different types come in as far as kitty cat appearance.
Yep. She's got to come and sit beside me when I'm doing a live. It don't make a difference where I'm at.
I was trying to look through so they understand English and everything, right? They know.
Yeah, they understand our language. They actually probably understand quite a more. They understand quite a few languages. They understand Dutch. They understand Native American tongues. They understand French. And it depends on what type of people were around them. And when they do, because of the Sierra sounds, we now know that the sounds were 7 different languages from here in the U.S. They understand those languages. Yeah, they were researched quite a bit.
Yeah, I remember they were researched, but I didn't realize there was that many different
Yes,
languages.
sir. There was a Native American tongue in there, German. There was Russian in it. There was also American English. Japanese. There was a couple of words of Japanese in it, and it's just the way they put all that stuff together is why it sounds like. That's why it sounds that, is because they got a deep voice and they're putting all that language. They're not cutting off the words. They're putting all the words together as a sound. And you have to slow it way down, and then you start picking up the languages. But there was 7 languages found in that tape.
And do you think each one has their own version, or is it kind of a universal thing for them?
It's semi-universal. I hate coughing when I got ribs.
Oh,
If you're in Pennsylvania was it was very heavily a Dutch population. Holland. There's a lot of different languages that were there in Pennsylvania at one time, but all of it now is English. So now they use a lot more English words for things, and people don't hear them because it's all strewn in with Dutch and German and all the nomadic languages, and it's pretty bad. Oh, wait a minute. Henry had a question. If I carry a weapon, would that knowledge mess up the situation? Brian, you take that one.
From what I understand, no. It doesn't mess it up as long as you let them know what your intentions are. This isn't for you. This is for my protection against other. It seems like, because there's plenty of people, that have experiences carrying firearms. So, which is why I'm going to start carrying and make intentions known, because I didn't used to, but there are, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's types out there you don't want to play with, my friend.
Yeah. So, nope, as long as you make your intentions made, and it sounds like a lot of people have both good and bad, obviously, experiences. So,
well, I've carried since I started investigating Bigfoot. I've always either had a 44 Magnum. Let's see, I had a 44 Magnum for probably 10 years. And then I went out and bought about a 357. Then I went out and bought a 454 Casull. Bought a 500 Smith. And now I carry I still got the big ones here. It's just I carry a 40 and 3 mags. It's 14 shots a mag, so you got 42 shots. But I also carry a 10, and I carry 3 mags with it. So I don't go out without a handgun on my hip, but I also take a rifle. I'm not as fast as I used to be, and I'm man enough to say that I'm not as good as I used to be. So the long rifle helps me out a little bit. I'm well versed in it. I know how to use it, and I can count the rounds even if I just pump my finger as hard as I can pump it. I know when it's about ready to go empty. So it's just it's my personal preference. But I suggest, if you decide to go Bigfooting, for all the people that don't Bigfoot now and are thinking about it, or you want to go out and start looking for a dogman, I would suggest that you find a firearm that you can shoot accurately and learn it. You better learn it real good, because in a sticky situation, you don't want to freeze up and have that thing on your hip and then not be able to pull it and use it. Anything you would like to add, Brian?
Definitely something that would, if you get to the point where you got to pull it, I guess you want to make sure you got something big enough that at least it's going to annoy it to go away.
Yeah.
I don't think a 38 is going to do anything but
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Somebody with a real good shot and place the bullet, 38 will work fine. You just got to place it.
I was going to say shot placement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and look at all the pew-pews that are at Salt Fork, and yeah, Grizzly had a visitor behind his tent before he coughed.
Well, I think the reason Grizzly had that visitor, Grizz was sounding more like a sawmill than he was a Grizz. He was sawing some logs, and I'm not talking the little logs around in Salt Fork. I'm talking about the sequoias in California. And don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not making fun of Grizz. I love Grizz. He's a great guy. He's a very good friend. He's a friend to me, just like Brian is. And I love that man. I'd give my life to protect his. And it's the same thing for Brian. But he was snoring in a tent, and we had activity the night before, before everybody went to bed, and I got up at 4 o'clock like I normally do, and I go outside and start building a fire. And that Bigfoot was coming to find out who was snoring. And then it saw me, and it was focused on me and Grizz snoring, and it tripped and stomped its feet because it tripped and almost fell. And then when I stood up, it was standing behind the bush about 8 foot behind his tent. So yeah, it wasn't a scary situation to me because it didn't bother me. And I actually walked towards it before it took off running. And when it took off running, it went down to the edge of the bank and jumped off a 20-foot high wall and hit the tar and chip road of Parker Road, and across it went. It didn't waste any time.
Yeah, so I don't think firearms are going to deter them necessarily. Well, I should take that back. Depends on the intent, right? Because like when that one was approaching you when you were 16, right?
Yeah.
Once it heard that hammer cock, his whole expression
It thought better, yeah. There's a question up on the chat, Brian, and it's to me. I'm gonna bring it up. Cowboy 5 Rings wants to know if I've encountered a dogman. Cowboys, yes, 3 on 3 successive weekends. I saw 3 different type of, 2 that I would call dogmen. One kind of looked like a coyote standing up on 2 legs, 6 foot, 6.5 foot tall. Second one looked like a very large German Shepherd with a short-haired German Shepherd. And then the third one looked like the werewolf off from Underworld. That's all I can tell you. I don't deal with them. I stay away from them. And if I run into them, if I can walk away, I'm going to walk away. If I have to fight, well, it's going to be a heck of a fight.
Nope, I've been lucky enough not to do that. My family had it. Way back in the 60s, they had one. It was down in Manistee National Forest, Nuevo. And they were all sitting around one night. It was a foggy night out, and after dinner, dark, and then all of a sudden they hear their German Shepherd start barking. They hear it yipe, and then just a few minutes later, the dog got thrown through the window with the chain wrapped around his neck.
Yeah.
Better than a doornail. And my grandpa was World War II vet. He pushed the bookcase over the hole in the window, and then while he was doing that, something was jiggling the doorknob trying to get in the house. And so, he grabbed the 4 sons, and all of them had guns, went outside, but it was so foggy they couldn't really see anything. They could hear something walking around and growling and snapping. So he had those old World War II flashlights, the big canister battery ones. And him and the boys went up on the roof, and they sat up there and were looking for it. They could hear it. And then at some point, a couple hours into the night, they finally got one quick glimpse of it. So it just looked like a black wolf with a big mane walking around. And they didn't see it long enough to take a shot at it. So they waited up there all night. And then just before morning was when it finally wandered off. So luckily I haven't dealt with it, but after hearing that, I don't want to.
No. I've seen all 3 of mine at 100 yards, and all 3 of them were standing in the same place those 3 weekends in a row. And at 100 yards, I the last one is the one that told me that I don't want to play with them things. I don't want nothing to do with them.
No, you never hear a good ending with them.
No. So, Brian, you got something else you want to talk about?
Anything you want. Lay it
Oh,
out
no,
there.
no. We're trying to groom you into being the next old bear.
Yeah.
Come on, Brian.
You know, and that's the thing. It's like, how to identify when people actually need help, or is it something that, you know, whether it's they're transient and just certain times of the year they're coming through, or
Well, okay, let's cut it up into parts. What part do you want to know first?
sometimes people got trouble.
Okay,
It's not a passive thing, but they actually got problems.
okay. The easiest thing to find out if people have got trouble, if they're coming up and they start looking in windows, and then when the people notice them and scream and they don't run off, that's a definite sign that Bigfoot's not afraid of the human. The next thing that will probably start is they'll probably start getting stuff thrown on the roof and they may smack the house. If it comes right out and starts off destroying property, like destroying the grill on the back deck or ripping the banister off the back deck or ripping the eaves off the side of the house, leaving big dents in the house, you're going to have to get rid of that Bigfoot. And you know what I mean. That's not a good situation. It's not easy either. Flashbangs ain't going to work. Hand grenades, they'll work. Flashbangs won't work.
You're not going to drive it off that way.
No, you're not going to drive it off, not unless you blow it up and it blows part of its leg muscle off. Then it might leave.
So if you're out and about looking for them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I know we talked about standing your ground. I mean, should you actually walk toward them or not, or just stand there and?
No, if there's a big male standing there at 30 yards, you never want to walk towards them because then you're going to step within. If you take 2 steps, you're within their kill range, and that's it. That's all you can call it. You stand there and you stand erect, and you just don't show any fear. That's the biggest thing. And
Eye contact or no eye contact?
If it's a beta, eye contact. You'll be able to tell the difference between a beta and an alpha, because the alpha will not. He won't be rocking back and forth. The
Oh, okay.
beta is going to rock back and forth because they have to work themselves up. The alpha does not. If he comes in and he sees you and starts charging, and he breaks that 50-yard range and still charging, kill him. Don't hesitate. Don't miss. Stop him the best way you can. Because he's done made his mind up. You've done something against the clan. And the only place you're actually going to be able to do anything against him, you know as well as I do, is to stop that brain. It stops every one of the arteries, the heart, the lungs, everything. And that's the best kill zone on a Bigfoot. We've discussed it before.
Yeah.
What's next, Brian?
So people who are doing what I did and then how to break that Bigfoot of doing it. I mean, I stopped cold turkey, but then we saw what happened. You know, luckily after a little while it kind of calmed down. But what if it doesn't start calming down? Is it with the trail cams and the lights to try to do it, or?
Well, if they're just coming around the house, trail cams, if they're standing outside in the wood line screaming, if they're coming up looking in the windows, as long as they're not destroying your property, trail cams and cameras will work wonders. Whether it's a working camera or not, just so that little light comes on the front of it, they'll back away. If they're destroying property, they're trying to push you out of the house. They want you to come outside. And once you're outside, you're in their domain at night. Because the only time they attack your house is at night. If they're doing it in the daytime, you really done something wrong. I would suggest finding another place to live at that point, because it'll progress quickly and end up with them coming through the door. If they're just being a nuisance, cameras and lights will work great. If they're destroying property, you need to ring your backyard and both sides of your yard in flashbangs and double them. And set them for 200 grains. Once you start getting in that 300 grain range, the cans can start blowing up. If they're not harming you or your property, that is not what you want to do. You just want that big flash, a lot of white smoke that stinks to high heaven, and they don't like the smell of it any more than us because it's sulfur in it, black powder. But if they're being a royal pain and they're destroying things and they're threatening your livestock or your kids or whatever, do what you need to do.
So when they start leaving you, because what was it where the guy found you hear about them gifting back and forth. What are the ones that mean, like the one guy got gifted a dead cat? It killed his cat. So is that, I take it that probably wouldn't be a good.
That's not a gift. That's a warning.
That's a warning, right?
Gifting from a Bigfoot will be acorns, walnuts, stuff out of the woods. In the springtime, the trees that, like dogwoods, they've got blooms on them and stuff like that. They will gift that stuff. But if they're killing your animals and gifting them to you, that's not a gift. That's a warning to you. You've done something and it's upset them.
So is there a certain, I heard you talking about the solar lights.
Mm-hmm.
Certain height you set them at so other things don't set them off? Or
I set the lights at least 12 foot up in the air.
Oh, okay.
And direct them to where they're about 3 foot off to where their beam will come down at 20 feet. Because at 20 feet, if that light goes off, it's bright light, it affects their eyes. They can't see now. They've lost all their night vision. And now they'll do this and they'll blink and move away. If you put it out there at 50 feet, that gives them a chance to walk towards the house. At 20 feet, it's so bright at 20 feet when it comes on, it blinds them for a minute or two. And while they're stumbling around trying to get their eyesight back, doing all this, covering their face, they'll walk towards the wood line. Once they're in the wood line, by the time you come out the door, they're in the wood line. All you got to do is just, in a deep voice, say, "Hey, get out of here." And
okay,
they understand.
So when you go someplace, what's your first assessment? How do you assess?
Well, my first assessment is usually when somebody called me, I would talk to them probably 30, 40 minutes on the phone. And if you can hear the fear in their voice and you get what you can get from the person that it's affecting. If they've never seen it, it kind of don't. It's okay, it's not doing a whole lot, is it? No, not really. But it's they've heard it scream. They've heard it growl outside. They've heard it scare the living daylights out of the dog or the cat outside and stuff like that. If you hear stuff like that, it's not something you got to rush and take care of. You can tell them to go get some lights, put them up on the house, pointing out into your yard, and when the lights go off, walk out the back door with a shotgun and shoot the shotgun in the air. Just tell them if it's in a subdivision or inside the city, don't do that. People will freak out. Throwing firecrackers out the back door. If you're in the city, throw a string of 6 of them together out the back door, let them all go off. They'll run. They don't like that loud report either. So little things like that are the big difference. You want to get your preliminary, get an idea from the person on the phone or that you're talking to in person. Secondly, once you get there, you want to kind of, what you want to do is you want to look at a topo or look at Google Earth. And if you're finding like a bowl area close to that property or the backside of their property's got a big bowl in it, and it seems like it's pretty thick, you can almost bet they're laying up in there.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been not training, but giving some knowledge to Icebox, Dirt Road Bigfoot, about things like this. And, I've got Bigfoot on my own property, Brian, or not on my property. I own 3/4 of an acre, but right across the road from me, there's a clan of Bigfoot that comes in and they'll spend 3 or 4 months here. And then at the end of summer, well, they left last month. They'll come in March, stay through April and May, and then they'll leave in June and July, come back in August and spend August, September, October, and November here, and then they'll disappear again. But we have an understanding that if they step on my property, it means trouble. It means death. And they understand that. It's so little terrain features like that, like a bowl or some real thick cover. And I'm not just talking trees. I'm not talking pine trees, short pine trees, because they grow up sooner or later. They like something that's going to be there for a long time. It's got to have a bunch of weeds. It's got to have a bunch of briars. If you can find multiple rows in it, if you can find rhododendron, mountain laurel, stuff like that, they'll lay up in it because it's so hard to get through. I mean, you're going to break a sweat just trying to get 10 feet in the thing.
Gotcha.
So, but to them, they'll come from the tops of the trees down. They'll use the trees to come in and down into the middle because they can climb better than we can. Because that metatarsal break, they can wrap their feet around it and press into the tree with their heel and their toes and work their way up the tree. And they got all that upper body strength too, so that helps a lot.
Kind of like those logger shoes.
Right.
Because, and now that you say that, I'm thinking back to where I go, and there's a bunch of, I don't really call them, what would you call them? I call them valleys, but they're not that deep, 15, 20 feet. And the one I call the Squatch Highway, because every week I go, there's so much deadfall with the leaves and stuff, but you can still see all the different impressions. And so that's how I think they make their way around through these trails, is staying down in there. And that way they can stay out of sight of people, because I put a recorder there, maybe 100 yards from that valley. And you can sit there and first off, they knew I was there because I'll have to keep my language clean, but all of a sudden there's a stop sign. And so I'm taping it to where those grooves are. And I put the recorder in there thinking I'd be smart and hide the light. I didn't even get a row of tape around it. And all of a sudden you hear bang and you hear me say, "Oh, F, there's a rock." You know? And
Yeah, they didn't want you doing that.
they threw 3 rocks at me while I was doing that.
Yeah,
So
they didn't want you doing it.
I went ahead and left. And then came back and got it. And about 2 hours into it, you could start hearing like sticks break and some big tree breaks, and you actually get a little bit of the samurai chatter, which was really cool because you can hear him. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if he hit his thumb with a stick, but all of a sudden one's like, "Ruh, ruh, 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 ruh," and then it got quiet. And then about 25 minutes after it ended, you can hear something walking. And then it comes up and something scratches the microphone on my recorder. So
Yeah.
it's and where that my whole point to that was you were talking about the stick stuff to get through. It's a field, but at the same time, there's all kinds of juniper bushes that you got to try to shove your way through.
Yeah.
And every so often, you'll see where the deer were laying, but then 10 yards away, you can see where something was laying in the juniper bush because just the middle of it's pushed down. So I think they maybe hunt out there, wait for those deer to come in, and
yeah, and then they can just make a noise, or they can jump out of that bush and chase the deer in a direction where they got standers that'll reach out and grab them by the neck and break their necks, or grab them by the legs and break the legs so they can't run off, and the deer will lay there and squall, and sooner than later they'll kill it before it makes too much noise.
yeah, because you can see right where the trail pushes down into that valley. So that must be where they ambush him at.
And if you look at that valley, it's probably looks like a C.
Like a what?
Like a C.
Oh,
like
yeah.
a half a ball.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, exactly what it is. You know, and there's all kinds of them through that whole place, and that's where I usually find most of the stuff when I'm out looking around. So, have you ever had to deal with people who were yanking your leg?
On 2 separate occasions. Which one you want to hear?
Both.
Okay. A guy called me, said he had Bigfoot on his property, wanted me to come out and look around his property. Okay. I go out there, I find trees that are broken at 4 foot high. Not 6 or 8 foot, 4 foot. You know, chest high on us. Your little friend just fell on you.
Yeah, apparently he didn't want to hear that story.
But yeah, he had me come out. I looked around his property, and it was nothing. There was no trees any bigger than my thumb that were broken. None. That's a dead giveaway. Bigfoot's going to break bigger stuff because it shows strength. And they don't break it, just reach up, grab it, and break it over. They reach up, grab it, twist it, and then break it. That shows more strength. So he really didn't have any signs. There was no footprints. I couldn't find any actual Bigfoot prints. I found someone that was evidently had used a wood cutout. And then he said, well, just stick around. You'll hear him scream at night. Well, that night I heard a guy scream from back up in the hollow behind this guy's house. And there was a guy screaming. It was not a Bigfoot howl. It wasn't a Bigfoot scream. It was a man. And we're sitting there on his back porch, and I looked at him and I said, go tell your buddy to get his butt out of the woods before an actual Bigfoot comes and finds him. And I got up and walked off the porch, walked out and got in my vehicle and drove home. So he tried. I humored him until it got dark. And then his buddy screamed. And that was, at that point, I already knew that he was trying to hoax me by finding that print that was like 16 inches long, 3.5 inches wide at the toes. That's not going to fit a 16-footer.
Yeah.
Not even if it was a female. You could tell it was a wood cutout. He done a real good job of it, but his only problem was when he done the cutout, instead of leaving the edges straight so it'd make a deeper impression, he had beveled the edges inwards. Dead giveaway. Bigfoot footprints are not like that. You know that as well as I do.
Right.
And yeah, he tried. I give him an A for effort, but for effort, that's only A he got. The rest of them were all fails. I then had a young man call me and tell me this kid must have been 22 years old. It was before I met my wife, and it was in the year before I met her, which was 14 years ago now, babe. Right? How long we been married, honey? Almost 13 years. It's been over 14 years ago. Okay.
Watch that elbow.
I'm making sure that I'm right before I do anything. But anyway, yeah, he called me, said we got Bigfoot on the property, and what he didn't know was he actually had Bigfoot on the property. He said they were coming down smacking the house, and they had aluminum siding. It looked like somebody beat the daylights out of the back of the house with a 2x4. And that's what it looked like. And I'm kind of trying to humor this guy. And he takes me on the hill on his side by side. We go up there and it's 3:00 in the afternoon, and I'm looking around and I found a actual print. I never showed it to him. Never said nothing to him. And he was telling me, oh, look over here. This tree over here is broke over. And this one over here is, it's an X and all this stuff. And I'm going, okay. I done found a partial print. I don't care what you got to show me. I'll look for myself. So I started looking around. And he was looking at easy places to go. I was looking into the thickets. And you could see trails that were 3.5, 4 foot wide going through these thickets. Dead giveaway. And I said, what made that trail down there to him? He's like, I don't know. We haven't cut any trails in there. We don't go in there. Oh, okay. So it started getting dark. And just to humor this kid, I said, why don't you try doing a Bigfoot howl? You've heard him. Try imitating one of them. He did. It's probably the second worst Bigfoot howl I've heard in my entire life. But he tried. I give him an A for effort. And at that point, you hear something stomping through the woods. And out comes this person in a costume, in a Bigfoot costume, something they put together. And it's standing there and he's like, oh God, it's a Bigfoot. I said, oh God, no, it's not. And he said, what do you mean it's not? I said, how much do you pay your buddy to wear that? And he just looked at me like I'd shot him in the foot. And he was upset. And I said, tell your buddy to come over here and let me do a howl. I'll show you a Bigfoot. He hauled out his buddy. Come on, he knows. So this kid walks over there. He's probably in his 19, 20 years old. You know, they're friends. They come over and we're sitting there, standing there beside the side by side. And I walked over to the edge that went down into the hollow through where that trail went in. And I did a howl. I didn't do an aggressive one. I just did a howl. And one answered back. Both of these kids are going, what in the blankety blank 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 was that? I said, that's an actual Bigfoot. I said, your buddy wearing that suit, he may think he's a girl. Oh, this kid's ripping his suit off at this point.
Oh.
He got the gist of it real quick. And he said, well, we got to get out of here. That thing will come up here. I said, yeah, it's coming up here. I said, if you shut up and listen, you'll hear it stomping up the hill, walking up the hill. And it come up, it hit the right of way, walked out in the middle of the right of way, stood there and turned and looked at us. I hit it with a flashlight in its eyes, and big old yellow eyes are shining back at us. And these two guys are, I hear the side by side start. And I turn around and I go, if you leave me up here, you ain't going to like it. So he stopped. I walked over, got in the door, and his buddy's sitting in the middle shaking. He is scared to death. He takes us off the hill down to his house, and I said, now you know you got Bigfoot on your property. And if I was you, I would replace that siding before whoever owns this house comes home and sees that you beat it up with a 2x4. Don't try to hoax me because it won't work. I know what signs to look for that are telltale and tells me if there's a Bigfoot there or not. That trail going over the hill that's about 4 foot wide, that's a dead giveaway. And I got in my truck and I drove home. You'll run into it, Brian. Trust me.
So you hit on something I guess I should have asked about before, like tracks. When you talk about differences between male and female, and if I remember, you said some of the females are narrower.
Their heel, if you look at a male's track, it's big and round and it's wide through here. If you look at a female, let me get it over here where you can see. See a female? It's still wide, but it's shallow. It's almost like it'll come to almost to a point at one part of the back of the heel, and it'll go right on up. A male's is like that. He will, it's real wide through the back of the heel. Now, the front of the foot is the easiest way to find out, because if it's a male, he's wider in the front than he is in the rear. If it's a female, they're still wider, but they're like half an inch to an inch wider than the heel. And it's because they have a slenderer foot, because they have a slenderer build. But you hardly ever find a female's track.
Yeah,
Females, it's a hard, tough thing to find a female. If you find a female track, you better hold on to that, because that's worth a pot of gold.
that was, I don't remember if I sent you the picture or not, where I was so proud of myself because I thought I found a baby print,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like half the size of my shoe, my size 15. And then I sent it to a friend of mine who's a good tracker, and he's pointed out, he'll tell me to take pictures if I find a track, and then he's able to find more in that picture. So I sent it to him, and I'm like, hey, check this out. I found a baby. And he's like, yeah. What about the big one? I'm like, big one? He's like, yeah, the big one. I'm like, what big one? He's like, the one you're standing in. And he turned around and sent me a picture circled. And the baby one is like here, maybe like this. My foot's right next to it. And then about 6 inches up from the top of my foot, you can see 5 toes very clearly. never even saw it. It was like he's just like, oh, some researcher you are. You know?
Oh, don't make me laugh, Brian. Come on, be easy on me.
Sorry, but
But no, yeah, it's buddy. I'm not a tracker. I have never been a tracker. Now, if I go out and find footprints, yeah, I'll get it out on my hands and knees and I'll find the other print. And I might find a 10, 12 steps. But at some point I lose it. I can't stay on that track. I'm not a tracker. I don't know why I can track a deer just by its hoof print. But it comes to Bigfoot tracks, I lose them quick. But I've never really put a lot of stock in trying to figure out by their tracks where they are. I always look at, Google Earth or Topo Maps, and I'll find them little niches of areas where, it's a bowl and it's pretty well thick in there. There's water, it's a place for them to lay, and then they can go out and find food at night. Not a lot of people go into it. Nobody goes in there. The Bigfoot's going to lay in there. And I've put a lot more stock in looking at maps than I have trying to refine my tracking skills, which I don't have another 40 years to refine them. I hope I do, but never know.
So when you get ready to go out, what do you take with you?
When I go,
yeah,
I got a rifle, a pistol, water, flashlight, extra batteries, and now I got the wife and the camera. That's her job. That's all I got.
You don't bother with the thermal, the recorders, or anything?
Nope. I'm not spending that kind of money for them things, and they're not going to help you prove anything. I'm not trying to prove it to everybody else anymore.
Yeah.
I know they're there, and if you want to believe me, that's fine. If I get it on camera, that's fine. If I don't, that's fine. I still saw it. And all those equipment, when you start them up, makes noise. When you're running them, they make noise. You may not be able to hear it, but a Bigfoot can seem to hear it. That's why a lot of game cams, people that put game cams out, why don't we go to Bigfoot on a game cam? We've got very few pictures of a Bigfoot on a game cam because they hear them or they can see that little red light. And I do believe that at night they have some way or some ability in their eyes. It's a natural ability. It's not something paranormal that they can pick up IR light. And most game cams are IR function.
No, I guess that's where I'm at too. I don't care if I prove it to anybody else. I want to see it. And I guess the only reason I take pictures for me is just more for memory. But I am getting older, and that memory is pretty shot. So it's getting the
well, join the crowd, man.
So, but the more it was, like I said, just a hobby to verify what I wanted to do at first, to verify what I saw and grew up with. And now that I've had the experience, I verified it and proved it to me. And now I kind of, I wanted to get to the point, not to feed them, don't do what I did. I wanted to, that became a big message for me and still is. Because other people are going to pay for it one way or another. I got off very lucky compared to what happens to some. So, but now I almost want to transition into trying to learn more and help people with having a safe place to go talk. And if they are having problems, maybe shoot ideas what they can and can't do. But, I don't have that experience yet to go out and say, okay, this is yeah, you got a problem. This is where they are. We need to put the lights up here. Or we need to do this. And so I know that's
Okay,
just
Brian.
but
All right. How about we do this? How about you start your own channel and I'll help you with your channel. And when you got questions like that, I'll help you answer them.
that may just push
I
me
don't
to-
want, I'm not taking control of your channel. You do your own channel. How you want, you put on what content you want. If you want to do live shows, I'll come and sit there and you just ask questions. You're doing what you're doing right now is what I do when I do a live. I just ask questions. Anything that comes to mind, I ask it. And you can never be afraid to ask. Start your own channel. And when it comes to going out and helping people, hey, you know how to call my number. You know, what do you think about this? Well, okay, send me a picture. I'll look at it and I'll tell you.
you just may have
No
pushed me
problem.
into doing this because
Yeah, I'm pushing you.
with that kind of backing, I mean, you don't get any better.
Hey,
You get
the other people that I associate with on YouTube, my friend, like Grizz, he got his own channel. Icebox, he has his own channel. He does Bigfoot stuff. He's learning how to do calls for me. He's learning how to figure out where these things like to lay up. All that stuff, you start your own channel, and I will make a point of being there when you do a live. Every time you do a live, I'll promote your channel. I'll let everybody know you have one, and you run your channel how you choose. And another kitty appearance. But you do the channel how you want. We'll get you to 1,000 subscribers and have you doing lives in no time.
I'm going to take you up on that. You know, I've been trying to figure out where I want to go next. And as we talked about at the beginning of the show, and I think this is where I want to be. And with people like you help back that, how could I not take that? I'd be a
See,
fool to turn that down.
even Griff thinks you should be doing it.
Well, thank you, Griff. We're going to have to, I'm going to have to get a lot more computer savvy and learn how to do this.
Hey, Brian, do you know how I do my lives? Do you know how I make my videos? Cell phone.
Really?
Yeah,
It works. So
it works real good. And you can download those editor programs to your phone, editor apps. Don't cost you nothing. You can edit videos on them. You can cut them. You can trim them. Do all kinds of stuff. You can add. You can take pictures like I got. You know, the Bigfoot that are off my channel. That's how I made that intro.
right off your
You
phone.
get right off my phone. Never used the computer. If you tell me to go turn on a laptop, oh boy. How do I do that? Let me call my granddaughter.
Yeah.
She can do it.
I remember those days. My dad would have me program his VCR, but to use a
Mm-hmm.
laptop, I'll forget it.
Yep.
Yeah.
If it's technical,
because I'm misty eyed here.
if it's technical, buddy, I call the grandbabies. They're a lot smarter than Pawpaw, so you know that's how I do it. But I'm serious. Start you a YouTube channel. I'll be the first one to hop on there and I'll promote. I'll be your first subscriber, and I'll put you on my list of people that I trust on YouTube. And when you get the channel started, we'll do a live. I think you can do a live before you get 1,000 viewers through StreamYard. There you go.
Yeah, that's a lot to take in, but yeah. Thank you.
I got faith in you, man. I know you can do it. You're good at it. You've been doing an interview of the old bear all evening long.
And loving every second of it, because for me to be able to talk to the people that I've been able to talk to, like Grizzly and you who've done so much for not only the country but the Bigfoot world, is beyond anything I ever dreamed I would be doing. I'm talking to people that I admired before I even got into the whole Bigfoot thing. So, and to be able to call you friend, I mean, oh my God, you don't get any better.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. There's Dirt Road Bigfoot, John Perot, Leonard, Athos, all of them once you start a channel. I'm not the only one, buddy. There's a lot of us out there that will listen to you. You got common sense. You understand Bigfoot. You understand that you've investigated Bigfoot. There's no reasons you can't do it. And I hate to say this, but all these Bigfoot channels that are out here, I'll say names because I'm leaving YouTube. They can chew my butt and I won't care. Colorado Bigfoot. I don't care if you like him or not. He hoaxes. There's that Todd Standing, his channel. He's a hoaxer.
Yeah.
Todd, sue me. I don't care. Go ahead. Try it. You got to prove Bigfoot's real first, buddy. Good luck with that. But there's a lot of other channels out there, my friend, that they put crap on and crap comes out. And with you, it won't be crap going on it won't be going on YouTube. There won't be none of that. I know you. You're like me. You don't pull punches and you don't back down. You stand by the truth.
And that's what I want out there. I don't awareness. I don't care about clicks and views,
Yep.
To be
It
able
don't
to help
matter.
one person.
Hey, if I cared, I would be upset right now for just 34 people watching. But I'm ecstatic. There's 34 people watching. Yay. I don't care how many views each video gets. I don't care how many views the lives get. I want the truth out there. And if I save one child or one woman or one man from getting eaten or killed and never being found, my job's done. And that's the way I look at it. I don't look at it for views. I don't look at it. I didn't look at it for 5 years. I didn't care. They could cuss me all they want.
Yeah.
Didn't care. And you're the same way. You don't care. It don't make any difference to you. You want the truth. You want to put truth out there, and that's the way it should be. But the only reason I've decided to leave is because my wife and my children and my grandchildren said, Grandpa, Dad, sweetheart, you're getting threats. And it worries us. It worries them.
Yeah.
I'm all over the country. And it scares my wife. She acts all brave and everything. And I'll tell you the truth. She's afraid somebody comes to this property some night and sits out in her and comes up our driveway and starts shooting. She doesn't want to have to shoot somebody to protect her life. There's enough weapons here. She could do that for days and never run out of a shell. There's enough firearms for her to protect herself. And she'd be justified in doing it. She's not afraid to do it. She just don't want to.
Yeah.
She don't want to be put in that situation. And with threats against my life, my wife, all of our grown children and our grandchildren. The last one was one when it threatened my grandchildren. they better be glad I don't know who did it yet. Because if I find out who did it, I will call the police, but I'll be there before they get there. They can take what's left.
Yeah, that's
And I mean, that's just, and I'm not threatening anybody. I'm just stating the fact that you have upset me to the point where I don't care. And I don't like being that way. My wife knows I'm not that way. My kids know that I'm not that way. I've had to discipline my kids, whether they've been a child or a grown up. I've had to tell them no. I've had to tell them they're wrong. But I do it out of love, and they understand that. But this is out of pure hate.
Yeah.
My grandbabies mean the world to me. I got 5 of them, and you just don't do that. I wasn't raised that way.
No. That's the other thing I admire. You're family man first, Bigfoot second.
Well, no, actually, this is pretty much how it works at my house. Grandbabies, children, wife, me, other family, close family, my brothers, my sisters, my nieces and nephews, and then Bigfoot. Bigfoot's an afterthought for me anymore.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'll still be going to conferences. And if you get in a sticky situation, you make a phone call, I'll be there. It might take me a little bit, but I'll be there.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to August.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm really looking forward to that. And I hope you're not camera shy, which you being here now tells me you're not. But we plan on, me and the wife, we're going to film on Thursday. We're going to do Bigfooting on Thursday night. We're going to film on Friday around the camp. We're going to showcase, we're going to show Salt Fort Lake and all that stuff, and Friday night we're going to Bigfoot. Probably have a meeting there at the camp, probably Bigfoot afterwards. And then Saturday, when everybody finally is all there, we're going to have a meeting around 2:00 that afternoon with the Bigfoot group that's there. And then about 4:00, my group, that all the people I've invited, if everybody shows up, we're going to have a sit down dinner around 4. It might be burgers and hot dogs with potato salad, macaroni salad. Thomas has asked for sweet tea. I haven't forgot, Thomas. And, I'll have coffee. We'll have pop, water. If I can talk my wife into lemonade, we'll have lemonade. But we're going to sit down and we're going to do a lot of what ifs. And we're going to plan for those what ifs, because I don't want no one harmed. I don't want no one scared to death. And if something happens, like a car won't start, I'll deal with that situation personally. You will be getting in my vehicle and you will be leaving. We will leave that car there. That's the way it is. I will leave last. Everybody else is safe and in their vehicle, and I start my truck and we pull out. Everybody follows behind me. If somebody's car doesn't want to move, then I will make sure that the truck is positioned and everybody can get in, and we will leave. So, yeah, it's safety first and at utmost, and us having fun is second. And if there's a problem, I'll deal with it. So, yeah, in August, I want this to be the most fun that everybody's had. Not because it's my birthday weekend, it's because I got all my friends around me and I want my friends to have fun.
Well, what better way to do it than on your birthday weekend? So big party for everyone, including the Bigfoot.
Well, as long as they behave themselves, otherwise it won't be much of a party. We might have Bigfoot steaks on the grill
I
late
was gonna
Saturday
say,
night.
I've bounced a few times, but nothing that big.
But, buddy, I want to tell you this from the bottom of my heart. You start you a YouTube channel and you put the truth out there like I have been, because you know the truth about them. Ain't nobody gonna pull wool over your eyes. And I will back you 1000% in your channel. And once your channel's up and running and doing good, I can take a back seat. I can be off camera, but you can always pick the phone up and go, "Hey, Bear," and tell me what's going on. And I'll help you out. If I have to drive 1,000 miles to get there, I'll be there.
We'll get this going. This is the new mission then.
Because I think you can do it and do a very good job of it, better than I can. You're a great interviewer, and you just proved it tonight.
Oh. With your expertise, there's an awful lot to choose from, so I didn't have to pick much conversation.
Well, I understand, but
Like I said,
you know, you're good at it.
No.
You're very good at it, man.
Well,
And I
when
would
do
be
this,
proud to be associated with you.
I was just gonna say, if I can get this off the ground, then I just want to do it where people like you who are supporting this at this time are proud. So I want to make sure I don't put any garbage out or
Well,
do you justice
just
for having faith.
you do what you know is true. That's all you got to do. Be true to yourself, and everything you'll put out will be truth.
Yeah.
I think you'll do an awesome job of it.
Look at this. Sorry.
You're all right, buddy.
They're happy ones when you get people putting faith in you that are friends. That means a lot to me. Family and friends have always come first in my life.
Right.
Myself.
Thomas says you need any help, just let him know.
Oh, Thomas, Jiffy fell off the Hulk, so that's where Jiffy went. Jiffy didn't want to hear Old Bear's story,
But serious, start a channel. You can do it tomorrow. It takes 20 minutes.
really,
Just come up with a name, go to YouTube, and you create an email through Gmail, all that stuff. Half an hour to an hour at the most. And you can do it all on a cell phone.
I had no idea it was that easy.
It is.
It was a very complex thing.
Nope. No, sir. It's easy.
We'll get it done.
All right. And then as soon as you get your channel up and it goes live where everybody can find it, you send a link to me. I'll be your first subscriber, and I'll put you right there on my list of Bigfoot channels worth watching.
Well, thank you.
And then we'll figure out how to we'll get you to on StreamYard, and we'll get you to do a live, and I'll promote it for a week or two, and we'll see how many people we can throw at you real quick. I'm pretty sure I can talk Thomas into coming on, and maybe a few friends like Icebox, maybe Grizz. I'm pretty sure them guys would love to get on your channel for you and help you out as much as they can. Hey, even Neil Decker says he'll join the channel. We might just have to drag Neil on the channel. We'll even bring Leonard out to it.
I see Lenny's in there.
Yep. And who hath believed? That's a person that you really want to talk to. Very smart.
Yeah. I need to get better with names, that's for sure.
Hey, I can already see a list starting. We got Thomas. He's volunteering. You got Neil. You got me. We can drag Icebox in here for you. I'm pretty sure if he's still on. And I can twist his thumb. He'll listen. And then you can go out and find reports and talk to people and get encounters and just talk to them. They don't have to be on camera. You don't have to show someone's face.
Yeah.
You can do like I did. I went down to Cave Run in Kentucky. We drove for 3 hours to get there that day. Drove down there and done a investigation. Didn't even investigate. Man just told me his accounts and where he'd been seeing Bigfoot and everything else. Never put the camera on him. Put it on the scenery. Perfect. Bunch of views.
Oh, that's where, because I've seen a couple of your videos where you do that. It's like on the campfire, and it's actually kind of nice because I just sit back and close my eyes and listen, and I'm able to actually kind of soak it in better.
Well, that's why I do it that way. Is because I want the people to hear all the details about the encounter, what I was told. And I'll give you a little secret. If you do them like Nance, if you do encounters, you don't give all the information. You give the stuff to give them a picture and go through the situation that the person did and what the Bigfoot was doing, how it was acting, but you don't give all the small details. Let them ask.
Okay.
It gets people in it. It gets them, they hear the thing and they're like, well, something's not clicking. There's more. And then they'll come and ask you, well, what else was it that you didn't tell us? And then you can put it in the conversation and other people will see it. And then it all clicks. It falls right in line now. So that's why my channel grew like it did. Plus there were some people that promoted me and I thank them all for doing that. It was a great time watching my channel grow. But the only thing is, I never changed the way I did in accounts. I left it the same. And if you go through all of the comments, people are asking questions, and you just answer them and make it personal. I mean, you answer their question, and you'll have a little emblem, whatever that you can heart somebody's comment. I hearted everybody's comment unless it was mean, and everybody got a thumbs up. And that's just me. That's what I did. I went through every comment. I don't care if I had 300 comments. Everybody's comment was read. And if they asked a question, I answered it. Yeah, it's time consuming, but it's fun. You never know, Brian. We might just drag Griff out of the closet and have him come on live.
There you go.
So You start that channel, you text me the title of it, I'll look it up, and I'll be your first subscriber.
Thank you. And we'll get on it. No, I just got to think of a name.
Yep, that's your job. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Mine was easy. I've had that nickname for, good Lord, 31 years,
How'd you get
32
it?
years.
Is there
Mine was easy.
is there a story behind it?
I thought I told you this.
Mm-mm.
Oh. Do you remember the Sissy Spacek movie, Coal Miner's Daughter, where she was playing Loretta Lynn?
Vaguely, yep.
Okay. In there, in the movie, who was the actor, honey? The male actor was standing there, and she was, I think, in the bathroom, and he had walked in there with one of the kids in the arm, and he growled like a bear. And she looked at him. She said, "Dude, stop that. You sound like an old bear." My first wife, we watched that movie together, and she turned and looked at me and said, "Yep, that's you, an old bear." It stopped. My son called me that. He had been talking maybe 3 weeks, and he called me that. That was my CB handle for the longest time. And when I started this channel, I felt it was right to put it in there.
It's perfect.
It fit. But you come up with something, let me know. Like I said, I'll promote you as much as I can before I'm done come September 1st.
I appreciate it, and I'll jump on it because those opportunities don't come, especially when, like I said, I'm in the midst of what do I do next.
Yep.
So
Well, now you know.
this is almost like a little push, like, here's the door open. Now you got to do a step through it.
Well, you either step to the door on your own, or I'm grabbing you by the shirt collar and the belt loop, and I'm gonna throw you through it.
Well, I don't want that to be happening. I got enough injuries. I don't need it anymore. So
Yeah.
how about we walk through it together? How's that?
Okay, that'll work. That'll work. Well, buddy, it's been 2 hours, almost 2 hours and 10 minutes,
Oh, wow.
actually.
Holy cow.
So, if there's nothing else that you have to add or that you want to talk about, then we're going to end the live and we're going to end it together. I'm not putting you backstage. You stay right there where you're at because you're the next face of truth in the Bigfoot community.
Well, thank you. Now, something to live up to now.
Hey, you ever since I met you, you were living up to it. You just didn't know it.
Thank you. And thank everybody in the chat.
All right, everybody. We're going to let Brian sign us off. Brian, it's up to you.
Well, thanks everybody for coming. Prayers and love to you all, and stay safe if you're out there Bigfooting.
We'll see y'all later. Y'all have a wonderful, blessed night. Bye-bye.